So the places with the most hostile crowds are the best places to go, because it creates that atmosphere and it creates that challenge. So I could imagine without any noise, it's just the challenge. Like, and we were talking about this before. Some teams, some players look flat. How have you boys kind of addressed that in your changing room? Is it something you talk about?
Yeah, no, it's definitely something we speak about. So we spoke about it a lot in training in the build up to the games. It's all about, they talk about celebrating the small wins. Saracens, you hear them constantly going at it. Your old mate Maritoje, like just constant, any small thing. And it's interesting because not only does it give yourself energy, you're celebrating those small wins, but also, the other team are looking at it and thinking, oh God, they're getting one over on us again. And it's like on a rugby field, you've got to have that constant chat. As soon as things start to go quiet and go flat, it's when the teams start to make mistakes. And obviously other teams can now spot that. If you can hear them being quiet and see them flat and no one chatting, you've got the upper hand. And I reckon that mental side of the game is massive.
Do you see a responsibility in yourself as a chatty man then to be even more vocal?
Oh, do you know what? It was weird at the weekend because Bundee Aki actually made me cringe a little bit at how much he was going at it. I even asked a couple of his players, I was like, God, you boys must be struggling with him going at it. And there's a good way to do it, and then there's a way which is a bit like, come on, rein it in a bit, pal.
What about getting physical with players pre-game? Is that a good way to go about it?
Well, it seemed to have worked, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I actually need to confess, and it's another plug for my book, but I've wrote a nice little sentence about that incident in there.
Oh,
and,
yeah?
I think down the track, we'll have to do a live reading of it.
Oh, really?
No, it's not bad.
You could just do it like an almost like a reenaction from both sides, like what was going through your head, what was going, we could. Jeez,
I can't remember, but we'll get the book out. I've only got a couple copies lying around, but yeah, we'll put it out.
Ryan, is Bundee always as vocal, or is it just because there was literally very few people in the crowd that you could really notice it? Like, is he? And Dylan, I suppose you've probably played against him when you were in England. So, like, is he always such a vocal?
I love those guys because it's a bit like Ryan, and I've never noticed it with Bundee, and I've probably played against him a couple of times. But I love those guys that are vocal because they're in the game, they're competing, they love it. You know what I mean? They're not just turning up going through the motions. It means something.
Yeah.
I mean, look, some pretty horrendous chat gets thrown out there sometimes, but at least those people are invested. And I think as a competitor, you've got to respect that. Yeah, I love it.
No, that's true. He is like that a lot. He's always chirping, but yeah, it's always a good, good side of it. You get it with players like Owen Farrell, constantly going at each other, during a game. And at the end of the game, it just does become a bit of a laugh. Like, you're like, oh, like, there's only so much you can keep going until with a dead.
I think the danger now.
So you just crack up. You're like, oh, this is enough now.
Yeah, I think the danger as well is like ref link.
Yeah.
Like you can't just say things now and get away with them. Like everything's played back. Everything's like put out on social media. Nigel Owens puts a few things to bed pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't know if you ever consider if you're an earshot of the ref or not. I mean, I said something once that got me in hell of a lot of trouble.
Well, do you not remember they started putting mics on players? They did that a few years back. They started micing players up, and they said, "Whilst you're going to wear a mic this week," I was like, "There is no chance on earth you're putting a microphone near me. No way."